for somebody to hop on.
Mhm.
But while we're waiting, random questions. Oh, I'll get my life together in this chair. There we go. Okay. My pointer is a little crooked. Where's that for my camera? Hello, everyone. My name is Christine Rogers, and I'm here with the Detroit Promise and Christina Johnson and Kanisha Williams, our college advisors, to talk to you all, give you all updates about the commitment form, what's happening with the Detroit Promise, and then also talk to you all about our topic today, which is unpacking the college experience. No matter whether or not you're a first generation student, or maybe your parents haven't gone to college in a long time, or whatever the case may be, your identities and your background can affect how you navigate college. And that's what we'll be talking about today, and how that can affect whether you graduate and your retention rates. So let's get started with our announcements. Okay. And our first announcement for today is that the FAFSA deadline has been extended. If you have not submitted your FAFSA, please do so. You still have the opportunity to get state and federal money. Typically, the cutoff for state funds are March 1st, but because of COVID, it's been extended to May 1st. So if you have not done so, please submit your FAFSA as soon as possible so you can plan your financial aid in your school. You have that on file and they can get started with that process. And next, we're going to talk about the group advising. Christina can go over that with you all.
So today is another new week of group college advising. So today at 4:45 p.m., we will be having group college advising over Google Meet, and we will put the link here in the chat. However, you can also access the link at DetroitPromise.com and click resources right at the top, and you can make it to our link from that scholarship there. From that resource page calendar. I'm sorry. But we'll be talking about scholarships in group college advising. So if you're interested, please come by. And we're also going to be focusing on financial aid because we get a lot of feedback from people that sign up that they have questions about financial aid. So please bring any questions that you may have about student loans and tuition and things like that so that we can go ahead and get everyone's concerns cleared up.
And next, we're going to be talking about the commitment form. So the commitment form is live, and we ask that you all submit your commitment form by May 1st. So you should have received a link to two links to the 2-year form and then links to the 4-year form. You will only fill out one link. So you need to have decided on what school you're going to attend. So whether or not it's a 4-year school, a community college school, and if that school is one of our partners, then you will fill out either that 2-year link or that 4-year link. If you already filled out the commitment form and you need to change what school you put on your commitment form, please email us so we can get that process started for you. But you only fill out the commitment form for one school. And you have to already have been accepted into that school. We require your college ID on that form for you to fill it out. And we say May 1st as the commitment form deadline because that's the enrollment deadlines for a lot of schools. So if you aren't aware of what the enrollment deadlines are, it is the time where you commit to the school, you let them know that you're planning on attending in the fall. Sometimes you have to pay a deposit. So it's very important that you pay attention to when that enrollment deadline is to make sure that you have a major decision on what school you're going to attend and all that paperwork and different processes are filled out and completed. And then Christina is going to talk about the 4-year part of our commitment form and that process that 4-year students need to take.
So there is another step to the process for 4-year students, and that is called the 4-year verification form. Everyone should have received a personalized link on this past Friday to complete their 4-year verification form. It is just asking for those basic Detroit Promise eligibility questions for you to answer again to ensure that you meet the requirements. And everyone does not have to transcripts, please make sure that you read the instructions so that you can make sure that you are not doing extra work. The transcript uploading is only for students that are going to Michigan State, I believe. So please just make sure that you read through the form so that you are giving all of the necessary information. Everyone does not have to give a transcript. Also, make sure that when you are completing this 4-year verification form, it is so important that you all follow the instructions of copying and pasting the link in the email into your browser. Do not click on it. You must copy and paste that entire link into your browser so that you may complete the form correctly. So if you need any follow up on that, just email us at info@ and we can help you out. We can have a one-on-one advising if you need to really be guided through it, because we really want people to do this correctly and not run into technical issues based off of just small errors. So that is the 4-year verification. It is very important and it is mandatory that you complete it so that you can get the Detroit Promise Scholarship to whichever 4-year institution you plan to attend. So that's the verification form.
Thank you for that, Christina. So for those of you who did not hear, so maybe someone hopped off and someone new hopped on, the commitment form is open. You should have received a text and an email. If you did not receive that email, you can't find it, please check your spam, search for Detroit Promise. You should have received that link. Start making your decisions on what school you're going to attend. That time is coming up very fast. So make sure you have that college ID and you fill out that form. You cannot get Detroit Promise if the commitment form is not filled out. That's so important. You cannot get Detroit Promise if that commitment form is not filled out and it's not filled out for the correct school, or if your information on the form is not correct. So you incorrectly input your student ID. All your information needs to be correct so the process can go as smoothly as possible once that form is filled out. Okay. And if you have any questions about our eligibility, of course, as always, go to DetroitPromise.com to review what the SAT score updates are. And now we're going to go on to talking about our scholarship on-site event. This is the last one that is happening this Thursday. So if you have not signed up, please do so. This is a great opportunity for you all, not only for the students who have below a 3.0 to get admitted and receive Detroit Promise at some of our partner schools, but also for those students who have already been admitted, or maybe they already started those application processes and are waiting to hear back from that school. You can still go to this event, talk to these schools. This is the only event that is happening right now that has multiple schools coming together to give you presentations and talk to you all about what their schools have to offer, breakout rooms where you can ask questions about what schools, what type of program school has, or any more questions about the admissions processes. Please show up and attend this event. We also will be raffling off a pair of AirPods for students who apply to 8 of our partner schools, and at least 3 of them be privates. We are raffling off a pair of AirPods. Rochester University, if you apply to their school, they are also raffling off a pair of AirPods at this event. And we're also giving away random gift cards throughout the event to students too. So if this is something that you all are interested in, please, please, please join. And then it's for the minimum requirements for this event is have a 2.0 GPA. There you have to submit your transcript, and then you have to submit an essay. So one thing we noticed with a couple of students who missed out their opportunities to get offers from schools is because they submitted report cards. Please submit your transcripts. Make sure it's that your transcripts that you are submitting, and it at least has your first semester of senior year on it, because that should be on your transcript at this point. So schools are want to see what that first half of senior year was. There is an essay, but there's no essay prompt. This essay can be an essay that you already submitted to another school for their application. It can be something you submitted for a scholarship or a piece of writing from English class. It just has to be a well-written piece of work, something that you want colleges to read and that speaks to who you are as a student, either academically, socially, whatever the case may be, a real written piece of work. Okay. And if you all have any questions at any point in time, please drop them in the comments. And I saw that someone said hello. And if you are still here, hello, missed your comment. But any questions, please drop them in the chat. So our next piece is actually jumping into what we're here to talk about, which is the college experience. So um, if you all So since you all have been accepted to college, well, some of you all have been accepted to college. I don't know who's watching this, but if you have been accepted to college, getting accepted is one thing. Getting in your freshman year is one thing, but actually graduating, getting through that process, navigating all the different barriers and things that you will experience while you're on campus requires really hard work and dedication. But at the same time, it requires knowing what you need to expect. How can you prepare for something that you don't know about? How do I navigate this campus, especially for, like I said, with students from certain backgrounds? That changes the way that you might fit into a campus, your ability to do work, to do your academic work, or to actually work a job, or your family background. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. We'll get started and jump straight into it. So, like I said, your identity can affect how you have certain college experiences. So whether or not it's your race, your class, or first generation. For example, with race, if you are a student of color at a PWI, that changes how you might feel like you can fit in. So that might require you, joining certain groups in which there are people that are similar to you, so you can feel like you have a space on that campus, or thinking about how there might be extra resources available to you on that campus because of maybe an identity that you hold. And then thinking about class, how do I fit in economically with the people around me? Is the cost of living going to be high around this campus? So am I going to be able to afford to participate socially with the students around me? Am I going to be able to afford food? Is there a grocery store within my reach? If I know that cooking is something that connects me to home or makes me feel at home, do I have access to those things that can make my college experience what I want it to be, for example? So we're talking about all of this because having a great college experience is what leads to you actually being able to graduate. This is so important because students go to college and are not able to graduate because of certain barriers that they might experience while being on campus. And the reality of the situation is that you're going to experience barriers. There are going to be things that you're going to have to overcome in life, no matter what. But it's about how do we navigate those things? How can we find the resources on our campus? How can we understand what that barrier is and maybe why that is a barrier in the first place, and then try to navigate around that? Christina, Kanisha, do you have anything to add as about how identity can affect your time on campus in terms of race, class, gender, first generation? Maybe you all want to share your college's, your experience with how your identity may be affected, how you went to school and were able to graduate.
Yep. So for me, I went to Michigan State, and it was a
I'm sorry, you broke
culture.
up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I was just saying that it was a culture shock for me when I went to Michigan State, which is a predominantly white institution. I'm from Detroit, born and raised in Detroit on the west side, and it was just like I didn't think that I belonged. So I think that had a lot to do with my experience, because I had to find people who maybe were first generation low income students, and I was able to connect with them, and we were able to share our own experiences from like home. And like we were able to like build a group, and that made me more comfortable being with people that I thought were very like me.
Yeah, and the thing is that when you do get to college, there will be people of all types and backgrounds that you will meet. So I'm also a student. I wasn't a first generation college student, but I am someone from the east side of Detroit that went to University of Michigan, which is a predominantly white institution. And it was adjusting to the different culture and expectations of where people come from at a predominantly white institution. And it was also encountering just so many different people with different ways of learning and understandings of the world that they live in and different perspectives. Because something that happened while I was there is that I really found out that I'm a person that really does work a lot slowly, a lot more slowly than others. So it didn't necessarily hold me back. However, like if I were taking a test in a big classroom, right? and I will see people getting up that were already done. For a lot of people working, that can make them feel a little intimidated, like, oh, how come I'm not working as fast? However, you overcome that by just paying attention to your work and what you need to do, because that does happen to people very often. Like they compare themselves to others and how people get things done. But you really have to just realize that you are there as an individual and you're going to leave as an individual. So just do what you have to do, and also really be comfortable in telling people who you are when you feel like engaging, because something that happens when you get to college is that people are often shaking people's hand and introducing themselves by telling them where they're from. So tell the truth, like tell people where you're from and about yourself, because it really makes you feel like you can find a good group when you do that, when you're just being authentic.
Definitely. I went to U of M in Ann Arbor, PWI, lower income Black student from the city of Detroit. So being on our campus, it was definitely other students from Detroit there, other Black students from Detroit. But we are such a small, small percentage of the population there. And then you also don't want to feel like you just have to like navigate to everybody that's the same as you for you to feel comfortable on that campus. So I have to figure out like what other identities do I hold? What other spaces can I tap into to make myself feel comfortable? I know one thing that made me feel uncomfortable on campus about an identity that I held was being in foster care and having experienced that and not having, that two family household or even one parent household with a mother and a father. I didn't come from that background. So when I was on campus, I felt like an outsider. I felt like, everybody's on family days. There was family campus days. So in situations like that where students are bringing their families to campus, you sometimes might feel like you don't fit in there, or that this space is set up for students like me. But I had to find those spaces for students like me. So I was able to find a program on campus with students who shared my similar background. I felt more comfortable talking about where I came from. I didn't feel ashamed in being a student who had experienced time in foster care, who didn't have a certain support system, because at the end of the day, that's not my fault, that and that's just the background that I came from. And you just have to figure out, where can I find support with my identities? How can I navigate certain barriers? And sometimes, you navigating barriers that are related to your identity is within finding those support groups, finding those places on campus where you can find people who you can interact with. Now, see, we have some questions about the commitment form, and we'll hop back up to those in 1 second, okay? So to continue that conversation, so, what can you do on campus? Where's campus support? How can you find, spaces in your at your university or college that, can help you graduate or help you find that community? So for example, student unions. There are student unions that are based on your identity. So there are Black student unions, Asian student unions. There are so many different student unions and student organizations that are for students with particular background. There are organizations for students with certain religions, students, even certain activities. If you like to cook and that's your, like I said, your way that you can connect to home. There are, cooking clubs on campus. And the great thing about college is if there's not a group for you, you can create that group. Most of the time, you only need a couple of people and one person to support, one like staff member or faculty member to support your group, and you can create that space for you on campus. And they also have academic advising. So if you feel like you aren't being supported academically, you don't know what classes to take, because maybe you're a first generation student and not really understanding how credits work. How long does it take for me to graduate? How many classes, do I need to take? What is a class audit? So things like that. So thinking about those type of things and working with your academic advisor to make sure that you understand all of those steps, so you're not being left behind, so you're not taking extra years that you don't need to take to get through college because you might not understand that process. The point of this whole thing is to use every resource that is available to you on your campus. There is not one section within your life that there is not a campus organization that can correspond with that, whether or not you need help with financial aid, academic support, social, whatever it is, there is some type a program on your campus that can help. And then Kanisha and Christina can add from there.
I want to add with the academic advising. So when I first got to college, I thought that I had to do it all on my own. I didn't want to bother the staff, or I didn't want to like ask them a million questions. I'm like, oh, they don't want to answer my questions, but that is literally their job, to help you navigate that. Like, of course, you want to be able to for yourself, but like they're there to like set the foundation and make sure that you know what you're doing in the first steps. College is an experience. Some of us don't have people who went there, generations of family members who have been to college, so we have to figure it out all on our own for the first time. So trust me, these advisors, financial aid, academic advising, they're there to help you. Now, of course, all of them are not going to be helpful. So that's where you have to do your job to find the right ones that are going to be in your corner. A lot of times, try to find the older students and talk to them. And say like, okay, which advisors really helped you out, because that's what's going to be your best friend. Because these advisors will work with you your entire 4 to 5, 6 years, and they're going to be the ones that make sure that you're on track to graduate. They can find different resources for you. I know financial aid advisors who students lost a scholarship, but they were able to like find other funding for them, and they wouldn't have had that if they never talked to an advisor. So you really want these people in your corner because they have higher resources than as a student.
Because if you don't reach out, you don't know that these things are available. Not knowing that there was a bucket of emergency money that's set aside for students on campus when things come up. If you don't know that those things are there, that those buckets of money are there and other resources, no one can tell you about it unless you go to someone and try to speak up and ask them about resources to help you navigate whatever issue you're having on campus. And the reason we're talking about this, and once again, I really want to stress that college can be hard and it will get difficult for some of you. But just know that there are ways to navigate around that. Do not give up, reach out to the people around you, reach out to your school. That is what they're there for, to help you navigate your time on campus.
Something really important is tutoring services. So at Michigan State, they provided so many tutoring services. So they have the Math Learning Center, they have the Writing Center. Even if a lot of times they wanted you to come with at least a draft, even if you didn't even know where to start, you could come talk with them. They will work it out with you. They will talk you through it, give you some ideas, and you will work with them at the same time. So they're not going to write your paper for you, but they are going to help you with it. And a lot of these resources, you don't want to go to them like once you have a 1 class or you have an F. You want to go to them early on so that you're building on those skills. So like I took a trigonometry class. It was terrible, but I was able to go to tutoring and I was able to get help, and it actually I actually was learning things, because most of the time if you go to a big university, there are going to be hundreds of students in your class. Can't sit with you one-on-one, but in tutoring it's probably going to be 10 or less students actually ask questions, get one-on-one help. So please use tutoring. Even if you don't need it, at least join one time and see what they can offer you. And it's not just those main math and English. A lot of schools have tutoring for almost any of their intro level classes, and when you get a little further up, that's when you have to do your research and find for tutoring.
And put you hip to something. Free tutoring is office hours. Go to your campus, go to your professor's office hours. They're teaching the class. They know what content you all need to prepare for and you need to study for. Take advantage of office hours. That time is set aside for you. If you are struggling in that class, if you are struggling with that class, speak to your professor about it. Your professors are humans. They know life happens. So, they're not as scary as you may think they are. Go to your office hours, get help, ask them to review your paper, ask them to read your thesis. Make sure that you're on the right track before you even submit the assignment. And they'll tell you, no, you're not on the right track with this. You need to do this, you need to do that, before it gets too hard, especially when it comes to academics, because one of the things that can be a struggle with going through college and the college experience is time management. So balancing your academics, your student life, all of these different things can be overwhelming. But when you put the things in place to help take some of that burden off of you, to help improve in certain areas that you need to improve in, then it makes things easier. Going to your professor's office hours will make your academic life easier, because you know exactly what your professor is expecting from you, and you can get help on whatever content you need help on. Okay. And then there also are career centers and fairs. So one of the things about going to college is that you have to not only go there, be prepared academically, do the work, you have to think about the future. What am I going to do once I graduate? And that can be a big problem for students who have to carry so many, who have to wear so many hats, have to be a student, have to support my family back home or something like that. I have to work. I have to do all of these other things. And sometimes those future goals and what you're there for can actually be lost in doing the day-to-day things that you need to do to get through. So going to your career center to make you stay, to keep you focused and centered on what is that end of, end goal in terms of what career do I want to go to, or what grad school do I want to go to. Going to that career center, attending those career events can be very helpful for making you keep things in perspective about how does my degree actually relate to what I want to do in the future. Anything to add on that?
So the Career Center is amazing. When I first got to college, I had this very basic. It was one together in class. I mean, of course.
Breaking up, Christine. Kanisha.
Say it again.
Breaking up.
Oh my gosh. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, for the time being.
Sorry. I was just saying that when I first got to college, I had a resume that was like, just a high school resume. It wasn't much on there. Really wasn't good. I think I did it in class for an assignment. So I went to the Career Center, and the career advisor he was so helpful. He really sat me down and was like, talk to me about all of my experience and things that I thought was just, didn't count for anything. He was actually able to sit down with me and make it into real experiences and real transferable skills.
Yes, and that's the thing too. Like college, like if you take advantage of the resources that are there, they give you all the little tips and tricks that you need, especially when it comes to resume things. It's like, how do I actually translate, yes, my experiences, the things that I've done to be able to put it on my resume? And that's how I got good at writing my resume, updating my resumes by going to the Career Center. The resume that I had, like Kanisha said, was the one straight out of high school. It was horrible. It was barely anything on there. Like, it was bad. But by that time, I was like really trying to perfect my resume. I had gained experience. And even the stuff that I had did in high school was still some transferable experience that I could have kept on my resume. I didn't know necessarily like how to put that on there. So especially as a first generation student, as someone whose family was not going to teach them how to write a resume, write a cover letter, didn't have anyone in my network to really explain those things to me, college was that resource that I used to help me figure out those things that if you're not coming from that background where you're surrounded by people who already know and experience these things, then you wouldn't get it. So it's very important, especially for first generation college students, low income college students who may not have those certain resources, to know where those things are on your campus so you can take advantage of them. People are getting paid to do those jobs. So make sure you are taking advantage of the work that they do.
Yeah. So I'll add one more thing to it. So Kanisha and Christine just gave very invaluable information. So what you can do today, just as a task for yourself, is whatever school you intend on going to, just go to Google, type in the school career center, and find out about the career center at your intended college or university. Community colleges have career centers also because they are colleges and universities. So that's just something that you can do today. And I've done that with students that have come into group college advising, so that before they even get on campus, they already are aware of some of the resources that are there. Because as a student, it is for you. Like what everyone's been saying during this whole presentation, it is for you. And Career Centers actually put on different events like mock interviews, and some Career Centers even have job interview clothes that they may give away to students for free. You can shop in their closet and find good hand-me-down or never worn outfits if you need some clothes or you need to see what a job interview outfit should look like. So just take advantage in every way that you can and also advocate for yourself when you go. Like, don't go just empty-handed. Like, go with your goals or your experiences written down on a piece of paper and start from there because it really helps you out in the end. Makes use of your time.
Yes, and that was a great assignment that Christina gave, and even outside of just the career center. Type in your school and find out what they have available, period. A lot of students don't do that deep research on their schools to figure out, what other smaller, not, and these aren't even small things, but what the other things are on campus that can, help you besides just the admissions or financial aid departments. There are so many other departments. There are multicultural departments on campus that particularly, are focused around, increasing diversity and different things on campus and putting on events that's for the students of diverse backgrounds on campus. So many different things that are happening and that you all can take advantage of. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about before hopping into the commitment forms, I know you all have some questions about that. It's just really that, balancing your life. So balancing your academics, your social life, your family life, and how that can affect your college experience. So, so in relationship to what I just stated, that so if you have to, work, go to class at the same time, you also have to participate in extracurricular activities. Maybe you want to do an internship, or maybe you want to go to all these other events because there are going to be so many things happening on campus. That can be so overwhelming. It can be so overwhelming, but it's a part of the college experience is learning how to manage your time. When you get out of college, you're still going to have to learn how to do those things. You're going to get older. You might start having your own families and things like that. And you're going to really have to figure out, how do I prioritize certain things? How do I place certain, how do I prioritize certain relationships and certain things that you need to be successful? And figuring out how to manage your time is going to be one of those very, very important things that will help you have a better college experience. And that can look a variety of different ways based on what best for you. I was a planner person. I liked my planner. I wrote everything down in my planner, scheduled my time out, but that's what works for me. For everybody, that doesn't work. Some people won't even pick back up their planner. After they write it down, you forget to check it. Some people like actual reminders in their phones. Some people need accountability buddies. So finding someone who's somewhat along the same path as you. Maybe you're both interested in going to grad school, or you're both taking the same major, the same classes, seeing maybe we can keep each other accountable, remind each other of when certain deadlines are, or when certain assignments need to get turned in, things like that. Or saying like, hey, we both should go to this event because it will help us network with other people who are in my potential career field or something like that. Accountability buddies can be helpful in college, even when it comes to academics. Finding people who are in your class, who might be doing better than you, and saying like, hey, do you mind if I study with you, or something like that? Or if there's a study guide, saying let's all complete the study guide together. You do this part, you do that part, I do that part, so that you can work together as a group. All these things are about improving your college experience, taking some weight off of you, learning how to use that space around you to work in your benefit. And managing your time is at the root of all of this, figuring out how to do all these things that you need to do to be successful, and placing it where it needs to be placed.
Mm-hmm. And you have to say no. I have to. Can you hear me? Okay. But you have to learn how to say, I am a yes man. I say yes to everything. I want to be able to do everything for everybody. So in college, I struggled because it was like, yeah, I want to go to this party. Yeah, I want to help you study. Yeah, I want to. And it was just like, oh, wait, I don't have any time. And I had a job as well. So I was working, a part-time job. I had a full load of classes, and then I had all my friends that I wanted to hang out with. So you have to be able to say no to some things. And it's going to be hard if you're lucky, it's going to be hard, but do what's best for you. You cannot do everything. Even if you want to, you cannot do everything, or you are going to drive yourself, into a state of like you're just always on the go, and you need to be able to relax. And saying no is going to help you do.
Yeah. So, thank you, you all. Did you have something to add, Christina? I thought you were going to say something.
Nope, not at the moment.
Okay. So thank you all. So that conversation, we literally can talk about our college experiences, different things we learned along the way for forever. So we're going to table that conversation for right now. If you all have any questions, then let us know. We'll always continue to talk about our college experiences and what you all should be expecting when you all get to college throughout our Facebook Lives. So now we're going to jump back into some of the questions that we received in the chat and answer some of those. And Christina, if you want to start by answering.
Definitely. So the first one, is there anything else I need to do after signing my commitment form? So if you are a student that has signed a commitment form for a four-year institution, there is another step for you, and that is to sign your four-year verification form and get it submitted as soon as possible. So if you are a student that is going to a two-year institution, however, then you do not need to take any more steps with the Detroit Promise. However, you should make sure that your FAFSA is submitted. You have until May 1st to get that done. And also check on your TIP eligibility, the tuition incentive program. Make sure that you check on that also. And if you have more questions about it, just go ahead and contact us through info@detroitpromise.com. So is there anything else to do? Yes, if you are a four-year institution bound student, then you have to do the four-year verification. If you're a two-year institution bound, then no. Just make sure that your FAFSA is done and that you've checked on your TIP eligibility. So the next question. Hello, my name is Jerkay Strotter, and I am wondering if I am admitted into the school and sign my commitment form, will my funding be automatic? So your funding will go through as long as you follow through with all the steps. So if you are going to a four-year institution, you must do the four-year verification form. If you are going to a two-year institution, then you don't have to do a verification form. However, you do need to make sure that your FAFSA is done. Even if you're going to a four-year institution, you got to do your FAFSA. So make sure that your FAFSA is complete, that you've checked on your TIP eligibility, and that if you're going to a four-year institution, do that verification form. If you have not received it, we sent the emails out on Monday because they're all personalized links. Then just contact us at info@detroitpromise.com. I'll put up the address here. Here it is. So if you have any follow-up questions for that.
Very clear about that. The four-year eligibility, you have received a personalized link if you were asked to submit the four-year eligibility. It's not something that everyone has access to. There were personalized links sent out for students to verify their four-year status. Okay. And then also just to add to, will my funding be automatic? So Detroit Promise follows the financial aid process of your school. So once your school, once you sign your commitment form, your school see that you signed for them, then they will follow up with the financial aid process. Detroit Promise is not like, we provide a particular amount of money to each individual student. It is a last dollar scholarship that is only for tuition and mandatory fees. So your school is going to be looking at, what is already in your financial aid package and seeing, is there a gap that needs to be covered in your tuition and mandatory fees? Do we need to add additional scholarships or maybe another grant or some other free money from the institution to cover your cost of your not cost of attendance, but your tuition and mandatory fees? So you will still be following up. You'll be following up with financial aid about any Detroit Promise related things regarding tuition and mandatory fees. We cannot answer questions about financial aid. We do not know what each individual student's financial aid looks like. So it'll be up to you to follow up with that school once you have signed that commitment form. You don't follow up that school if you have not signed that commitment form, because that school does not know you are a Detroit Promise student and they can't verify that your Detroit Promise eligibility. Okay. Any other questions about the commitment form or about the on-sites? Okay. If there's not any more questions, then please email us at Detroit Promise if you have any questions after this, or you're watching this after the fact. Even if you're watching after the fact, still drop a comment in the chat. We'll respond to it on this post. But if not, we're going to say goodbye. Go to Detroit College Access Network /student support. If you want to sign up for one-on-one college advising, don't forget group advising is today. If you would like to join, that's all we have for you. Bye, everyone.